Hey, how you doing? My name is John Canal. Um, I have a very disturbing story to tell. My mother was first degree murdered in the city of Winnipeg, and there's nobody allowed to investigate from our police services. It's very disturbing. It's that the police in Winnipeg are accessories to mass murder. They'll tell if you phone them yourself. They'll say, well, that's the rules. We don't investigate any capital offense that occurs at a hospital. And if you call the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Irene McDonald, the spokesperson for the investigative committee for the College of Physicians and Surgeons, she'll tell you, as she tells me, that they're not allowed to investigate a murder either because it's a crime. They're not a police agency. They investigate doctors for malpractice and so on, but if it's a criminal allegation, they will not do a thing. The police will not do a thing. And listen, I hope you're a human being out there. Apparently, this has been going on for like 10 years. They won't investigate any crime that occurs at the Health Science Center, 4th floor, 4H. Conspiracies, I don't know. But this is the reality. My mother was first degree murdered right in front of me. They tortured her, beat her up. The nurse would punch her in the face, give her a big black eye. What are you going to do about it? They deprive my mother all the medicines that she needs while poisoning her to die, stopping her from breathing. I look into it and I find, well, as the chief medical examiner for the province, he's like Quincy, Quincy, the show Quincy, says no autopsies are allowed in this province to determine cause of death if it happens at the Health Science Center, 4H. That's the rule. So I'm confronted with this reality that takes you like 45 seconds to confirm if you were a police officer. But they won't allow it. They're murdering people there at the hospital, and apparently it's because you're poor. This situation is very painful from my perspective of not only having my mother murdered, but because I don't, this is what'll happen in every circumstance. Nobody has the time. If there's no police, what are you supposed to do? Right? What are you supposed to do? You got to beg to humanity. And people go, that can't be the facts. I give you audio recordings of all the phone calls that I've had with the chief medical examiner, for example. I think they're all there. There's 5 or 6 of them. Doesn't support autopsies. Can't determine. You're not allowed to determine cause of death. When my mother was poisoned, but with scopolamine and fentanyl right in front of me, against her will, against my will. The doctor's recorded saying he will not do such a thing. He initially wants me to okay scopolamine, crossing the blood-brain barrier, and he wants me to kill my mom. But I say, no, why would I do that? You're going to exacerbate her condition that she just acquired the day before, right? She's all of a sudden got a chest infection, and you want to give my mother scopolamine, which will spread the infection, and are you planning to kill her? What are you doing? He's already tried to kill her already 33 days earlier. All I do is catch them physically assaulting, beating up patients. But listen, say you can't figure that out, and you go, well, you've got the video and you got the audio and everything else, but yeah, I don't know. The thing is there's no police to investigate, not for 30 seconds. When I go to the desk, they go, no, we're not going to allow that to transpire. They're complicit in murder. So all these lives get destroyed, including my own. Like I'm in a situation where I could lose my house if I don't find a remedy soon. I'm no longer capable of communicating to the world unless I get some help from you, such as demanding justice now, man. The chief medical examiner tells us thousands of people are put down like this in Winnipeg. He doesn't say put down, but die like this. It's murder. It's not my opinion. That's the reality. You're murdering people. You're depriving them the medicines that they need while giving them poisons that stop you from breathing and spread infections. And you die. In every case, as is told to me by nurses who work there, nobody survives this. You deprive medications and you're poisoned to die. You know, we need a public inquiry, and we need an inquest. We need everybody to realize that still innocent lives are being tortured and murdered in the city of Winnipeg, all because the police say they can't allow police officers to know the circumstance. Right? The city has ordered the public safety building in the city of Winnipeg to refuse all complaints of capital offenses that occur on the fourth floor 4H. It isn't funny, real people's lives are being stolen. But it's the nature of evil, I would contend. As I've explained, it doesn't, it's just playing with words, okay? But it's the deceived disguised. They're committing these crimes thinking it's impossible for them to get caught because the cops will never enter. Ask the cops yourself. Right? Whose world? It's your world. Right? We should treat ourselves with some self-respect here as fairly recognized. They say that from their perspective, being evil, good-for-nothing, first-degree mass murderers, they figure you can't find that in your own mind to say, hey, why can't we just be fair? And if the cops aren't allowing investigations to transpire, they're complicit in these crimes, right? It's not that they're saying that there is no such thing as a crime that can occur at a hospital. They're saying if a crime does occur at the hospital, they're not going to investigate in every single instance. Okay? This is not the civilized world. This is the worst of tyranny. Right? These could be police officers they're killing at the Health Sciences Center. Could be politicians. Could be anybody. They can murder anybody they want. They openly confess to doctoring the medical records. Listen to me talk to the chief medical examiner over the phone telling him that, and he doesn't investigate. Right? I give him Dr. Seamus tells me there's nothing. They removed this whole first incident where they tried to murder my mother a month earlier. So shouldn't you investigate that? You're going to the medical records of the patient can be written whatever way they will. There's no policing, right? There's no police, right? And because it's a criminal action, the College of Physicians and Surgeons won't look into it, of them writing your medical record whatever way they want. Whatever you said when you came into the hospital is perfectly fine no matter what, because there's no investigations allowed. Right? And so several times while they're murdering my mom, they just doctor the records, change it to whatever they want. Why wouldn't you investigate such a thing? Right? They don't want to. Right? They're murdering the poor with the free press. The newspaper refuses to warn the citizenry of the city, figuring we're powerless. We can't form a fact to defend our lives. If it was if everything counted on us making that decision, apparently the newspapers think we're forever lost to confusion. I don't think so. I know it's disturbing. That's for sure. My mother was murdered. I lost the most precious, special thing in my world. How would you feel if your mother was murdered like this and the cops say, yeah, well, you're claiming your mom is murdered, but I can't take that complaint from you because it happened at 4H, Health Sciences Center. Thousands of people are being put down like this, John. Thousands. The nurses that I talked to, as recorded, confess nobody ever escapes. They're torturing you for 6 months, 8 months, beating you up, starving you to death. Right? And apparently for money. They say you're terminal. You're going to die in 5 seconds. No, in about 6 months, 8 months, we're going to beat on your body. Nurse Delaney's going to punch your elderly mother out. And there's nothing you can do. The cops won't enter. Welcome to tyranny. Yeah. Well, how many cops would support this? try to find just we got the mic there isn't the, you try to ferret out a meaning on your side when you listen to him tell how he won't defend any Canadian life being murdered in a fucking prison, in the prison system known of as the health industry. But, man to man, a cop, yeah, I don't care, fuck, why, most cops are not going to support that position. They're going to want to be honorable. That's why they join the force, to defend the community. We have the Criminal Code of Canada detailing that this is a huge offense. Very serious to steal somebody's life. And so it's the responsibility of our police agencies to investigate such allegations. You can, again, they don't dismiss any allegations as being fraudulent or incorrect. Right? They're not saying I'm lying or misrepresenting the facts at hand. It's that they will not allow an investigation to transpire. Whose country is this? Whose world is this, man? This program is being implemented across Canada and through the United States. Right? Where they have these situation with the police department and the College of Physicians and Surgeons, where nobody's going to look here. And the newspaper isn't either. They're going to get rid of those cops, I guess, who think they're fucking trying to defend the community. We can't support lawlessness in blind error forever while these newspapers beat further on the survivors by stealing from our poor at the slot machines. The newspaper is directly implicated in those criminal offenses. So there are, and they'll admit that much, that they're into stealing from the poor. So get on it. Inform people about what's going on here. Don't let them steal my life further by my house and leaving me as a homeless man. Don't let them hurt me. What have I done to anybody? Why cannot we have justice be meted for my recently murdered mother? Why don't you demand? The newspaper print the facts. We have only one talk radio station in the province. They're here to beat us down and kill us. We need a public inquiry to find out how many people have complained of where the newspaper refuses to speak a similar refrain in being human. How can the newspaper still hold the lives of Winnipeggers in contempt by not warning you? I'm telling you right now, I'm sending this information to the Free Press, as I have already since this incident began. They don't make any response. I'm confirmed that they receive the email and yet don't phone me back. Don't do a report on it, right? They're not saying I'm incorrect. They're not saying, well, you've got, these are very serious allegations of mass murder in the, the capital city of our province, Winnipeg, the center of fucking North America. And nobody has said that they disagree with your assessment, and we're certainly not, but we're not going to warn anybody. They've been confronted with this reality and have decided to remain us forsaken, watching more people get beat up, tortured, and murdered. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help myself. I'm trying to help this world that's going without, law fairly wagered, fairly practiced. We have laws against murder, and the police department say, no, we're not going to allow us to ferret out the facts as to how Jenny Cannell died. We've got to change that. On the day they murdered my mom, like, the place is filled with these people. They're just beating up and murdering, But they're not only just the elderly poor. There are sometimes young men and women brought in there too. Approximately 36-year-old man, fairly good shape. Could have been a police officer. Sits up in bed, and I have this recorded. Sits up in bed and says, "I gotta get out of here." And as soon as the nurses hear that and see him sitting up in bed, they fucking tackle him, man. 2 nurses got to get there right away, and they're holding him down. A third nurse, she fucking jumps on the fucking bed, straddling with a fucking needle. And she says while she injects the poison, "Don't you want to get out of here?" And he's and he's out, right? Listen, nobody gets out of there. She knew that when she said that, right? Charlene, who's worked there 7 years, who we do that lengthy interview with, she says not a single person has ever escaped. And they beat on you for 6 to 8 months because there's no cops. It's kind of magical, Satan is like that. And you're powerless. Where are you going to go? Ha ha ha. You're all by your lonesome. All of us. Held in contempt. So please help out some and try to save some innocent lives that are further going without a fair protection as the laws do stand for our fellow man. It isn't the city's decision to say all allegations of murder at the hospital cannot be investigated. We got to get to the details of that. Who is that the city that does this? Right? I've emailed city councilmen. They don't call me back on it or email me back or anything. Whose decision is this over there? Is it the mayor? I don't think so. This is something that has been started a number of years prior. But I'm not surprised to learn it's happening all across America. Can you imagine? You walk into the hospital because you stubbed your toe. They say, well, you have organ failure or AIDS. You know, they're killing people in this community. This is the poorest neighborhood of Canada, practically, right here I'm as the center of. And, you know, you have no say. You know, they said my mom had multiple organ failure, for example. Well, when did that happen? Because I've been there like 24/7 since she arrived at the hospital, practically. When did it happen? I got all this videotape, audio, recordings. When did this happen? The doctor looks at me blank-faced for, you know, maybe about 12 seconds or so. And then she orders the halting of death medications against Jenny Canal. She never answers that question, though. When did this? Well, how, you say she's got multiple organ failure. Well, I was just with her like about an hour and a half ago, and we're talking about going home. Here we are with the physiotherapist. Understand, they have physiotherapists in Comfort Care. Nobody ever leaves. They have a palliative care program. They gave us the fucking information. We never signed for palliative care or Comfort Care or any of this, right? But at the Health Science Center, not a single person has escaped. Right? And yet they give the sucker, here's something, palliative care. Right? Instead of allowing us to leave immediately, they wouldn't allow us to leave. They told us that's the rules. But I find out after my mom is dead, they had no right to do that. They said my mom is terminal, going to die right away. You are allowed to leave. But they said we weren't, and we had to get social workers, and they had to inspect their house and all this other shit. We never signed up for anything. No special programs to be fucking executed under some kind of top secret eugenics program. Nothing. And yet, when I spoke to one officer involved on this, trying to get him to fucking... look, that's the thing, you know. And imagine if you're a police officer, you hear the story, you go, fuck, I'm concerned, John, I want to investigate. Oh, yeah, there's this rule. I can't do anything. What the fuck? So officers have to stand outside of the controls of which insist that justice not be meted fair here. So you got to get this information to police officers. You got to help me. You know, tweet it to police officers, right? Or go down to the public safety building, stand outside the building, and give it to police officers that come in and out. Right? It's always a teenager that they have at the front desk that's told this rule. If anybody comes in, just say, we don't do that here. And Mike tells us the reason he just made up in his head, right? Like, that's an interesting thing, too. You know, so uneducated as to what justice brings and what a police officer's duties are to our community. But I guess he just had to make shit up in his own head, but said that the reason was why no investigations are ever allowed is because the judge always says the doctor is correct. You never the judge always sides with the doctor. That's what he says. You're fucking nuts. You're not qualified to even finish high school. Right? But this is how he had to try to justify it in his mind over the thousands of victims that come to that desk. Right? And he's like 23 years old. And never do they put, and I've seen like maybe 15 or more people that work at that desk, and all of them are 23 years old. They never put somebody who's familiar with law, justice, what it means to defend the community as honorable police officers, right? Mike, he rolls his eyes like, John, you're like, he doesn't say though. He doesn't say, John, you're speaking complicatedly. Your sentence structure is rather elaborate. I'm not familiar with that kind of speaking on television ever, except Phil Donahue, but we canceled his show. And they told us why we canceled that show, because it was so good. So I guess it's because you're so good at communicating, and I'm suffering from fucking some kind of inability to concentrate just quite as well as you're expressing. You're gonna have to go slower. I have a professional responsibility to write out what you're talking about here and understand what your allegation is. He doesn't say that. Right? He says the judge always sides with the doctor. In my case, I'm defending the doctor. The doctor says stop end-of-life medications that are being given to Jenny Canal, and the hospital continues. Why? Why would the nurse side against the doctor? You know, right? Listen to me. The nurse sides against the doctor. The chief medical examiner is not going to investigate. Can't investigate that. Right? And then the next day they pronounce my mom dead. She died from multiple organ failure, of which I had only spoken the day earlier, or that when did this happen? But no, that's how she dies. The hospital informs me. I go to the hospital. I revive her. She's been overdosed with the fucking diuretic and hydromorphone, which stops you from breathing. But I get her revived. There's no investigation. Saying you're attempting to kill my mother, and the cops can't come in. So this got to be fucking fixed, man. We can't let them steal more innocent lives. Thousands of people's lives we can save if you just forward this information and understand yourself how serious this situation cannot be allowed to continue without fucking the public being made informed. They're wholesale murdering people at the Health Science Center. You go in there for a stub toe, and now all of a sudden they say you got multiple organ failure. Well, according to who? There's nobody. There's no oversight. There's no complaints department. Understand that, right? Think of how evil the College of Physicians and Surgeons is to receive all these complaints, and every time it's a criminal matter, they say, well, we can't investigate that. But they don't call the cops, right? Irene McDonald told me to call the cops. Why wouldn't they have called the cops? With receiving all this evidence of mass murder transpiring. And then think of all the other victims that are locked out of a system that has cheated us for death. Right? They want to make me homeless. They stole my mother's life. These thieves, these enemies of police officers everywhere, right? These are not honorable people who would say, oh yeah, all investigations are forbidden, unless they're teenagers with brain damage maybe, right? But clearly, Mike never understood anything I was saying. And when I asked to speak to his supervisor or sergeant, he says, no, I got this. And he didn't have anything. He couldn't even grasp the seriousness of the allegation. These are nice things to say about him to give him an excuse to not go to prison. This is his defense. This is the best thing we can say about his conduct here. But remember, it's the policy of the city to not allow our police services to investigate such allegations. So, please, save people's lives. Okay, thank you. All right, talk to you soon.